Mr. Ologbondian, we're aware that Libya is fragmented right now, and there's really no kind of a central government that controls all of the forces within that country.
Yes.
But let me ask you very quickly, when you look at recent developments, we know that the vice president, for example, has sat with the ministers of agriculture in the various ECOWAS states, and they've said, look, we need to enhance enforcement on just ensuring that those coming into the country have the ECOWAS documentation so that they can come in. We know who the terrorists are and who the legitimate herdsmen and farmers are within the sub-region. Are enough steps being taken? Because we hear that the federal government right now is saying that the herdsmen can't move anymore, that we need to develop grazing ranches, etc., etc. Are those not the moves you're talking about when you say that government should take proactive steps?
Well, until we get the dividends of those steps, we never can tell. Because you and I, we are not on the field. It is those who are on the field who can determine whether calling the ministers of ECOWAS states or ECOWAS nations and saying that, oh, let us have a division, or let us begin to check, or let us begin to do that, whether that is the essence of the war that's against our nation. And if you are talking to ECOWAS, is Libya a member of ECOWAS? Now that you have discerned that the enemies are coming from Libya, are you saying that Libya is a part of ECOWAS?
I don't believe it's only Libya. I think it's the Sahel at large. But Mr. Shehu, let me just ask you very quickly. We have seen, obviously there have been a lot of complaints about the federal government's handling of these security challenges, chief among which is that, the federal government has failed in terms of, ensuring that those who are failing in the field, whether it be, strategic failures or whether it be disobedience to instructions or whatever the case may be, that there's been a lack of punishment, a lack of recourse. What are your thoughts about that? Because we've had former senior military officials who've come out and said, look, there's just a complete lack of discipline within the service, armed services in the country. What are your thoughts about that?
Please allow me to go back to one or two things the caller raised. This thing about the president taking a side, I think that it's a self-defeating argument on the part of the PDP, because I think that people cannot use tribalism to launch attacks on our leader. President Buhari is just a victim of tribal attacks. Yes, he happens to be Fulani, but that is not to say that as president and commander-in-chief, he will tolerate a situation in which hard people kill farmers or vice versa. He has proved that he will do whatever it takes, to bring this situation under control. I will enumerate a few of these things as we move on. But the thing is, when he said that Nigerians should live with one another, that is not to say foreign terrorists should be accommodated or that criminality should be contained. No, the idea is, this is a huge country, more than 250 ethnic groups, a religion of various, ethnic, traditional religions, Christianity, Muslim, and so on. If we don't live at peace with one another, especially given that the enemy is now targeting some of these cleavages, you would have a situation in which a neighbor would start attacking a neighbor simply because they differ in their religious beliefs or on their languages and all of that. So that is a responsibility of India.
I have to come in there. You are aware that when the president did make that statement about going to accommodate neighbors, this statement about Gaddafi's men and Libya incursion had not yet.
No, I'm sorry.
Had not been given.
No.
And shortly around that period, there was also huge controversy as to the acceptance of Benue State's ranching laws, at the federal level. We did hear from the security chiefs, the IG to be more specific, and the Ministry of Defense about how they were unhappy with the laws that Benue State had made. And the president's statement seems to be fitting along that direction when he says, go and accommodate your brothers. It was much later, and that was just not too long ago, we heard the president talk about acknowledging the fact that perhaps there was also foreign interference in this. And this was not done here in Nigeria. This was an explanation given outside of this country. That was it seemed the first time we're hearing the president's thoughts on the so-called Fulani herdsmen clashes that have been happening across the country.
Let me answer you directly on two things. One is that we owe the defeat of ISIS in Iraq and Libya and Syria to Donald Trump's administration, which happened how long ago? It didn't happen when PDP was in power or early in the years of the administration. This is an unfolding situation. Gaddafi killed and all of these things, and ISIS moved into the empty space, and then all of these things are coming from to the Sahel region, not just ourselves. So it's a problem not just for Nigeria, but for all of West Africans.
The narrative of the Libyan problem. This explanation that the president gave is something that analysts have been giving way before now. And lots of them talk about how it's an existential problem. They talk about how the Chad is drying up. We have an encroachment of the desert. This is there's actually an existential problem for people who are rearing their cattle, and not just for cattlemen in Nigeria, but outside the country as well. And so you will find an aggression coming into Nigeria. That was the first time when the president went for the Commonwealth Summit. It was the first time. Do you think it is fair?
The problem environment
Let me pose my question, Sir Malam. Do you think it is fair that the first time we hear or get an insight into what the president is really thinking is when he travels out of the country?
No, please, let's again go back to issues. Let's take them sequentially. One, you said that the president hadn't accepted Benue when they did the ranching law. And I want to say, I had said this on this platform, that the first attitude of the president to that law was to say that these killings are going on and they are worrisome, and somebody is trying to do something to stop them. Give him a chance. The legal advice was that it was not constitutional, because you cannot define criminality by ethnicity. You cannot, because when the Benue delegation came and met the president, the Speaker of the Benue Parliament clearly stated that this law, the way it was conceived, was like a punitive law, because the farmers had refused to cooperate with the state government, had refused to come back. And he said, so we had to do what we did. So that's a problem. And the problem, the president is saying, no, whatever it is, the challenges are there, seek accommodation, bring them close, see how you can. And I'm happy to say that Benue State is talking to people, and at least they are able to isolate maybe the hardline group and against which they have instituted illegal.
Mr. Shehu, you didn't answer the question about indiscipline within the armed services.
I will come to that, because the issue of also saying that what president should have, I think that has been ridiculed, I think, by one of you here, that president should have taken a plane to go to Libya. Stateless country that is Libya, and you ask your president to go in. The opposition party should go in there and find out and report to us so that we know what to do.
Malam Shehu, if I may.
So let me answer my...
Mr. Kola, allow him to...
Yeah, you said I hadn't answered your question.
Yes, the issue of indiscipline within the armed service, lack of punishment, whether performance is good or bad.
When the high-profile allegation was made by General T.Y. Danjuma, the Chief of Army Staff set up...
I have to interrupt you. You will get the chance to answer that question when we come back from this break. Please stay with us.